Welcome to Tales from the Fandom, a podcast that brings a special guest out of the multiverse and straight to you. And now your host, David Ginsburg.
Welcome to Tales from the Fandom, the podcast that brings a special guest out of the multiverse and straight to you. Today's guest is Natasha Hazard. Born and raised in Fort Myers, Florida, and recently relocated to the larger city of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, she has shown her versatility and tastes in music, art, and performance. A professional belly dancer and burlesque performer, she loves pushing the envelope of her talents. As a toddler, her father brought a Sega Genesis to the home where she began her love affair with side-scrolling classics like Sonic and eventually her personal favorite, the Mario series. Her love for Nintendo never waned as she got into cosplay. She recently debuted her cosplay inventiveness at the Florida SuperCon in South Beach in the summer of 2016 as the red and gold captive Princess Jasmine. She's already shown a flair for the dramatic, introducing unique takes on classic characters. She's made her mark as a singer, a dancer, a gamer, and more often and soon to be a cosplayer who brings fresh life to old standards. Welcome to Tales from the Fandom, Natasha.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here.
I'm glad to have you. So that was a mouthful.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't realize you
It's
were
okay.
gonna read it out.
Oh,
I would have told my writer person to tone it down a little bit.
They're fired.
Yeah, totally fired.
So, what is fandom to you? How would you describe it?
Oh boy, fandom is a group of people that can come from any kind of category or genre, but usually based around a particular movie or a character or a game or a TV show where this group of people are absolutely in love with the said topic. So it usually ends up with people either creating a community for it or cosplaying for it or writing about it or drawing about it. It gets pretty intense. I think it's a pretty cool thing. It's basically a group of people who are really in love with something that either someone else has created or a particular person, and it's I don't know what could I go as far as saying is like almost worship sometimes.
Yeah, you could say that because there are those out there.
Yeah, I think there are certain people that are really like on the border of worshiping certain things, which is, you know, it's 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 cool in a certain way because the kind of art and creativity that comes from those types of people is pretty intense. Gotta say, um, yeah, that's pretty much what I would call it or describe it as.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what are you into as far as the fandoms that you're into?
Oh boy. Certain movies, but mostly TV shows and video games, definitely. Certain comic book characters, but
any in particular?
Well, I love the Tomb Raider series. I'm really attracted to really strong female roles. But they also are usually really sexy at the same time. So Lara Croft, I think, definitely fits in that category. Harley Quinn, which sounds so cliche these days, but she's my girl. I'm never letting her go. Lilu from The Fifth Element. I've always really liked her character. Yeah, people like that. No, I always like those strong female roles, but are attractive at the same time. They gotta be hot.
And you're also, would you consider yourself a Nintendo fanboy? Or fangirl, as it was?
Yeah, definitely. And it's so sad because I don't own a Nintendo in my life right now. And I weep every night before I go to bed because it kills me inside. But yes, hardcore, definitely.
I'm shocked you don't have a Nintendo Wii.
I don't. I want to get one, and I need to save up for one. I'm going through that a bland phase in my life where I can't really spend money on things that I want.
Right.
Going through that saving phase, but once I get there, I'm definitely going ham in the Nintendo Jam for sure.
Absolutely, and you'll have the new Nintendo system that's coming out.
Oh my God.
I think next year
I
sometime.
can't wait. I'm so excited. Anything Nintendo makes, I'm just like, give it to me. Take my money.
Just take my money and give me whatever.
Exactly. Whatever you made, I'm sure it's beautiful. Give it to me.
So your introduction to gaming was first through the Sega
It
Genesis.
was, yeah. And it's very blurry because I was so young. God, I think I was like, I had to be like 4 or 5 because that's when my memories as a child start to really fade out. So I had to be around that age. And I remember my dad having the Sega, and I remember playing the Sonic games with him. He had
Mhm.
Sonic 2, I think it was, that had Tails
Right?
in it. And I
Yep.
remember that one, and I vividly remember what I do vividly remember was this certain like level that's underwater. I can't remember the name of it in Sonic 2. And you're like, it's kind of like a mechanical looking level, and you have like all of these little like tracks that spin you under the water and back up. And there was a certain part of the game or the level when you had to like start jumping up on these blocks that were spinning as the water is also rising in the room that you're in. And I
Hmm.
remember I tried to get past that part so many times, and it scared the absolute shit out of me because the music that played was like dun 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 dun, and I just always felt like I was gonna die every time I played that level. Like I literally inside felt like if I do not get Sonic out of this water, I am going to drown. Like I don't. I guess just being a kid, everything's so much more intense, but I don't know. I think it was a little traumatizing for me actually. But
Well, you get those memories of those events. I mean, they stick with
they
you.
do, they do. Like I don't remember all the good things about Sonic. I just remember the scary underwater level.
I remember when Sonic 2 came out, it is so cool to have a second
Oh
player,
yeah.
but then at the same time, you're usually leaving that person
I
behind.
know. Poor Tails, always getting
It's
left
like
behind.
eventually you'll catch up, eventually.
Yeah. And he would like his tails would spin and he would like float back into the screen. And you're like, oh, there you are.
Yep.
Yeah. Poor Tails.
Yep, that's classic.
Yes, definitely.
S- So you started with the Genesis, but then you transitioned over to Nintendo?
Yeah, because the next system my dad ended up buying was the Nintendo 64.
Okay.
Um, I was too young to really like understand like different systems and
Mm-hmm.
all that. But I knew that video games were awesome and video games were video games. So, yeah, I just ended up playing whatever my dad usually had in the house, and so he got rid of his Sega and he got the Nintendo 64, and he got the Mario games, and he had Super Mario 64. We had Super Mario Kart. We had Diddy Kong Racing, and I just absolutely became obsessed with the Super Mario game, and it's just stuck with me ever since. Like it's what still to this day one of my favorite games. I could play it probably until I die. Like I don't care how good graphics get or how in depth this game is or how awesome that game is. Like that game is just always going to stick with me. It's
What is it about the game that makes it stick with you?
I just like I don't know. I just feel like it's so joyful when you play it, and I don't know. I don't know if it's just the the colors or the characters. I think it's a little bit of everything. I think it's just Mario in general. He's
Mm-hmm.
such like a happy, cheerful character. The way he's like, "Ha, woohoo, wee!" And it's like it doesn't. You could be like trying not to like hit a pool of lava, and he's just like, "Woohoo!" um, there's that. There's the music. I really love the music in the game. It's very uppity. I don't know. It just makes me feel happy, and I really like how in depth the game actually is, especially for its time. There was so much to do in that game. Like there's so much to do. There's so many levels. There's so many like secret things to find, and I don't know. I just think I just feel like games aren't really made like that anymore. And I don't know. It's a classic, man. It's Mario, dude. The flying
Absolutely.
hat and you know, Metal Mario, like everything. It was just I was like just fascinated by all of it as a
Yeah, I'm very much a classic gamer. A lot of the new games now,
kid.
it's just too much on the controller or on the control side. Like
Right.
you need to do A, B, and then you got to look up or press
Mm,
the trigger button
yeah.
to do something, or you got to use both like little like on a dual shock controller, use both of the little controllers plus try and press a button to do something.
Right.
And for me, like I go all the way back to the Nintendo where it's like A button and B button.
Right. Yeah. Jump and kick.
Exactly. And it's like I miss those days of okay, I could just press a button and it works.
Yeah.
Or I press a button and it doesn't work.
Right. Right. I agree. I never thought about that, but you definitely have a point there. Games have definitely gotten more in depth and harder as far as controls. Um, and I don't know if that's because like the developer trying to give people more of a realistic feel by doing that, like making you feel like you have to be like you're more into it or you're there by having to make you work harder with your hands. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know, maybe that's part of it, but I agree. You know, it was and honestly the Nintendo 64 was a very difficult controller. It was very strange. It had like three like handles or something in the middle, and then two on the side to grab onto, and then it had the yellow upright button, and then it had the third. It was very strange, and then it had that one Z Z trigger button like right in the center, uh, back of the control, which was always really hard to move to. But I agree. I never was like super into the original Nintendo, and I think that's probably because I didn't get to spend much time with it. Like I
Hmm.
love the original, the Super Mario Brothers games. I just never really got to spend time on it because I never really had the system.
Right.
Um, but like certain friends of mine did, and friends of my dad did. So like my dad was always like in a band of some kind growing up. So like he would go to his friend's house and they'd be doing their band practice, and they're like, oh, his friend happens to have a Nintendo GameCube and a Nintendo. So um, that's how I got exposed to other systems. Usually was because I got to play them at other people's houses. But I don't know. I feel like I'm rambling at this point. I got way off topic.
Oh, it's
Sorry.
okay. That's what this show is all about, getting off topic and just going places. So is Mario your favorite game ever?
It's so hard to say that. Like, yes and no. Yes, because it's always going to be that first, like, that game that hit me first. It's always going to be, like, my first love. But
Right.
I have other loves too. So, yes and no. Yes, because nothing's ever going to be better than Mario. Mario is Mario. I don't think there's ever going to be a game character as um, oh man, I don't even know how to describe it. He's just awesome. Like everything he does and things that he's capable of in the games, and he's just this cute tiny little plumber guy who changes his hats and can fly. And it's like, what gets better than that? It's so silly and it's so joyful. But at the same time, like I love Lara Croft. She's such a badass. Like in my opinion, she's my favorite female lead game character for sure.
Okay.
And there's so many of her games. There are so many Tomb Raiders, and it's been really cool to watch her evolve, especially um, with the new generation Tomb Raiders. It's been really cool. I was very proud of how um, they took over her character and reinvented her, but still kept her the same. It was really cool to watch that happen because I was super scared. I was really scared. Not gonna lie, I was like, please, please don't. Please don't mess up Lara Croft. Please don't mess up Lara Croft. But no, they did a really good job. So yeah, the answer would be yes and no. Yes, because
Okay.
Super Mario will always be my first love, but no, because there are other characters and other games that I love just as much, but in a different way.
Now, were you a person that played Tomb Raider initially when it came out, or did you pick up the series later?
I think so, but I'm not sure. And the reason why I say that is because I was so young. Um, the PlayStation, the original PlayStation, was the next system that was in my
Mm-hmm.
home after the 64.
Okay.
And I wasn't allowed to play Tomb Raider. So anytime, like, my dad was, like, working on his computer or my mom wasn't home, I would sneak on the PlayStation and start playing Tomb Raider and then scare the shit out of myself because, lions and things were jumping at me and I didn't know how to handle it. But but I don't even remember. I couldn't tell you which Tomb Raiders I was playing. I believe the first one I played was the second Tomb Raider. Um, because I remember there being a level with her wearing like the black tank top, like belly shirt with like the camo, like the dark camo pants, and I remember that outfit she's wearing being on the cover of Tomb Raider 2, I believe. So I think it was the second one. Um, but I have played all the Tomb Raiders. Once I got older, and I had my own PlayStation, I played through all of them.
Okay.
And then the ones that came out on once I got an Xbox, the ones that came out on Xbox, I played like the Tomb Raider Anniversary and Revelations and Underworld. All of those I played too. Um, I forget what the original question was. When did I start playing? Right?
Right.
Yeah. So I didn't really like I touched on it a little as a kid when I would sneak behind my parents' back, but um, yeah, I started in the middle of the series. Not
Okay.
like in the middle of the series, but as it was still progressing. Like I think I finally started catching up on Tomb Raider games once. I think it was when Revelations came out. That's when I like went back and started over and played through them all.
Now, is the draw for that game like the strong female character as the lead, or is there something else that draws you to that game?
Um, well, initially it was the strong female character. Um, I hadn't ever seen that before, and I don't think a lot of people had at the time when Tomb Raider came out. Um, I loved Indiana Jones as a kid. I really liked, when I was a kid, I would play with like my friends and stuff, and we would go like into the woods, and we would pretend that we were finding treasure and running away from dinosaurs. So I always liked that adventurer style game and adventurers in general.
Mm-hmm.
So to mix the strong female character who don't need no man, who don't need nobody, who just runs into a cave by herself, is pretty cool. Mixed with the adventure style, um, is really really cool. And I'm also I like the whole ruins thing. I like jungles. I like just adventuring in general. So to have all that mixed together in one was really really cool for me as a kid. I was like, wow, look at this chick. She's got guns and she's all by herself. She's so strong. She's so brave. And, she can fight off animals and bad guys. And look at all this cool stuff she finds. She goes into caves and ruins. And, I loved the puzzles in the games. The puzzles are so great, in my opinion. I don't think it's for everyone. I've met a lot of people who don't like Tomb Raider because of the puzzles. They wish it was more of like, an adventuring shooter type game where it was focused
Right.
more on the shooting. And it is kind of slightly in the newer ones, but the puzzles are always going to be a big part of Tomb Raider. They always have. So I liked the strategy part of it too because it kept you engaged. And in my opinion, it made me feel like I was there. It put me more into the game because I really had to think about the room she's in and what mechanisms are available and what does what and how the hell am I going to get out of this room? So all of that, all of that definitely drew me toward the game for sure.
And have you played the new ones yet, or
I
have
have,
you not?
I
Okay.
have, definitely. I did not wait on that. As soon as the new Tomb Raider came out, I was like all over it.
So I know you said previously that you liked how they kept the spirit of Lara
Mm.
Croft in the new ones. Do you like comparing the two characters, the new Lara Croft, the previous Lara Croft? Do you still feel that she's like the same, or has she been improved upon with these new games?
She's different, personality style, like personality wise. Um, her new voice actress is very different from the Lara Croft that we saw in the previous games, the originals. Um, it's not a bad thing. I just remember Lara Croft not really saying much, and when she did, she was very mysterious when she spoke.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and she's changed a lot, even in like Underworld. She was much more talkative than I remember in the older games, and she had much more of an open personality, and I think she does more so now. So it's been interesting watching her evolve from the originals to where she would only like mumble, and when you found something special in a room, or she would say no, I can't do that in a room, to now you actually see her as a person. So
Mm-hmm.
the original Tomb Raider, you see her more of as kind of like a bitch almost, because like she doesn't really talk to people, she doesn't really have much to say, and when she does, it's only for her own interest. To now, she's working with people more. You got to watch her bond with, the people that worked with her in her home in Croft Manor, as far as Underworld, and then now, you see how she is very reliant on people, and that's something that's very different, about her than the older games. Is that she was much more independent, in the originals, to now she really works with people. She needs her character needs people to get through, the game, basically. Um, so I would say that that's different, not necessarily in a bad way, but
Right.
it's definitely a new Tomb Raider. I think that they kept her spirit in the sense to where she's extremely determined still, even in the cutscenes and how she's interacting with people. You can tell she still has that fight in there, to where yes, through the storyline she's very reliant on people to help her get to what she needs, but at the same time, she's got that personality to where if someone's not able to give her something or help her, she's like, screw you, I got this, I'm gonna do it anyway. you know
Right. Right. Yep.
um so they definitely kept that spirit in her in that sense, to where you still know that she's a badass, and even though she's willing to work with people, she doesn't have to, and she knows that she doesn't have to. Yeah, and I like how they kept, a lot of um, the traversing the same. I guess, is that the right word
Mm-hmm.
to use? To where, like, the way she climbs on the mountains, and the way that she's having to slide across ledges and jumping and grabbing onto things, all of that is very much the same, which is awesome. Thank God that improved, because because in the originals that was not fun at all. I can't tell you how many times you had to like line her up on the edge to get her to jump properly, and then you would think that you're gonna jump and grab onto the wall, and she would just fall and scream and splat. There you go. There's a dead Lara Croft, and now it's a lot more realistic, and it's so much easier. And that's just with consoles and gaming and developing, improving over time. But yeah, Jesus, I could talk about Tomb Raider forever.
That is okay. Now, do you like what they've done with the series as far as like kind of starting it over and having it start from like a new beginning point, and they're like bringing her forward in the game series?
Oh, definitely. Because they have, improved and changed the gameplay so much, I think that that's really important for them to do. I don't think that you can take Underworld, which I think was the last one. before the new installment. I don't think you can take Underworld and take that Lara Croft and turn it into what she's turned into now, and then just keep going from there. I think you have to kind of set your own bar, and they have to set themselves apart because they are, um, and and in my opinion, it's going to make for a longer series. If you start from the beginning and grow from there, there's so much more to show than if you start, at Underworld and then go from there. You know what I mean? There's more to tell. There's more of a story that's available. There's more. It leaves you with bigger room to grow. Is what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely. And they get this whole new fan base where if they hadn't have started it over, they might have excluded, because they're relying on you having known maybe some of the past games, and now everyone's starting at the beginning and getting to know and love Lara Croft again.
Right, exactly. No, I think it was genius the way that they did it. And even with there was the Tomb Raider that they did, and then oh god, I forget what the second was. The second one was that they came out with the Tomb Raider Rise of the Tomb Raider.
Yes.
They actually changed even more of the gameplay, and they added crafting to it, and so I think it was very smart the way that they did that. If they had added all of that in their first Tomb Raider, I would have been like, fuck this shit. Like, I would have been like, you know what I mean? Like, I would have been like, I can't do this. This is too much. I can't handle all of the Tomb Raider changes at once. This is too much for me. That's just me personally. I would have been like, no, I can't handle all this. This is breaking my heart. But no, it's cool. I appreciate it. Definitely.
Another game that you had said that you're interested in is a game that I'm familiar with because my brother-in-law played some of them, but I'm not familiar overall with it, and that's the Bioshock series. Now, what is it about the Bioshock series that drew you to that game, or that game setting, or the game itself, the series?
Oh my god, dude. It's just so dark. And I am a darkness lover. Not a horror lover. I'm very much a wimp when it comes to like horror games and horror movies. I just have to make that clear. But I like dark, creepy, macabre stuff. I always have. I love Tim Burton movies. I love just darkness in general, that kind of ambiance and that feel.
Mm-hmm.
And Bioshock was the first game I had been in contact with that was on the edge of horror and thriller. And it wasn't horror and thriller. Do you know what I mean? Like it's dark, it's creepy, it's creepy, there's jump scares, but it's not like, oh my god, I'm gonna have nightmares when I go to sleep tonight. So, it's just such a weird, crazy, cool game. it's hard to explain if you haven't played it, because it really doesn't make any sense while you're playing it, and that's kind of why you keep playing it. Like in the first one, you get into the game and you're in the middle of the ocean and you find a lighthouse and you go in there, and then there's this underwater city. Then it's disheveled. It's a hot mess, and everything's broken, everything's abandoned, and then all of a sudden you have these crazy people with like half melted looking faces trying to attack you and kill you for you don't even know why, and then it just goes from there. And you meet this guy who's trying to help you over your radio, like get you through the city, and you have no idea what's going on. You have no clue. You just show up somewhere. You don't know who you are. You don't know who this guy is that's trying to help you. You don't know what the splicers are called, which are the basically mentally demented, literally DNA spliced people who are trying to kill you in the game, and you just kind of just try to figure it out as you go. And for, I guess, a lot of people that I know I've talked to have played it, they hated that aspect of it. They hated that they don't know what's going on when you're playing, but I think that's part of what makes it so good. That's what, in my opinion, it's the big part of what makes it darker and gives it that element of you're creeped the hell out the entire time because you don't know what the hell's going on and why you're there. So
Right.
you don't know what to expect the entire time you're playing the game because it's so out there and it's so bizarre. And I like that. I love it. I can't get enough of it. So it's always going to be one of my favorites. You have to play it, in my opinion. Like, I think everyone should at least try to play that game. At least the first one.
At least the
At
first one.
least the
Okay.
first one, at the very least. Just get through.
What's your favorite of the series?
I would say the first one and Infinite, which is the third one. Um, the first one because I like the how it introduces you to the series, even though it doesn't really. Because like I said, you kind of just get thrown into it. But I like the levels and the gameplay in the first one. The
Okay.
second one is good too, just in a completely different way. You play as a different character, and I just like the gameplay of the first one more, not because the second one's bad or anything. And then the third one I love so much because it's a completely different game. Um, you go from an underwater city and darkness in the first two to now you're in a city that's literally floating in the clouds. So it's a completely different game. Um, the style, the fighting style, and the shooting and all of that is very similar. Um, the art style is the same, but the
Hmm.
story is completely different, and it actually it's easier to follow if you play the third one. It more is explained as you're going. You kind of you know what's happening as you're playing in the third one, whereas the first two you're just like, uh, you know. Well, I guess I'm wrong. The second one has a lot of explanation as you go through the game. You know what your quests are, you know what your goals are, and you know why, sort of. Much more than
Okay.
you do in the first one. The first one, you have quests and you have goals to help you get through the city, but you're still like, I don't know why I'm here. So, but the third one, I guess the third one would be, ah, it's hard. It's hard to say because there's certain aspects of the third one where you don't know what you're doing and you don't know why you're doing it, but then there
Right.
are certain parts where you do know why you're doing it. So it's a tricky, very tricky series, and I don't know. I guess what makes it so great is that you really don't know how to explain it. You
Hmm.
gotta just have to play it. It's definitely a very theatrical game, and I love that. I love that.
Okay.
I'm
And
excited.
now you said you like that dark style of whatever,
Right.
whether it's games or movies, and you specifically said Tim Burton.
Yeah.
So I really, do you have a favorite Tim Burton movie?
Um, Edward Scissorhands for sure.
Awesome,
Yeah,
awesome choice.
yeah. I've always loved that movie. I used to watch it all the time when I was like between the ages of like 13 and 16 when I was going through that like puberty angsty teenager phase. And all I wanted to do was wear all black all the time. I watched I'm not kidding. It was not a good look. Uh, all I watched was Edward Scissorhands. I would watch it like all day long, every day. Like it was a problem. It was a problem, but it's a great movie.
It is a great
It's a really
movie.
good movie. I don't think a lot of people have seen it though.
Well, not at this point. I mean, that's almost a classic movie at this point.
Yeah. But like anytime I've noticed, for me personally, anytime I've brought it up to anyone, they have no idea what I'm talking about, and I don't.
That's a shame.
Yeah, and it really is because I know a lot of people don't like Tim Burton because they either don't like his movies, they don't like his writing style or whatever, which is totally acceptable. It's fine.
Right.
But I feel like Edward Scissorhands stands out completely from his other work, like The Nightmare Before Christmas and Corpse Bride. Like Edward Scissorhands is completely different from the Tim Burton movies that most people have seen,
Right.
aka the Nightmare Before Christmas. Everyone has seen that movie, but nobody knows what the hell Edward Scissorhands is. So,
Well, I have to admit I have not seen Nightmare Before
see,
Christmas.
I didn't see that one until like last year either. But it's so weird because that's the movie that most people know.
Right,
But
exactly.
I guess
They know either Batman
Batman. That's
or
right. That one too.
Edward, or not Edward Scissorhands, Batman, Nightmare Before Christmas or Corpse
Right.
Bride or Sleepy
Sleepy
Hollow.
Hollow. Sleepy Hollow's good too.
Yeah,
Oh, I forgot
I
about Sleepy
really love
Hollow.
Sleepy Hollow. I haven't seen it in
I
ages,
think
but
I haven't either.
I I've got it on DVD, I think, laying around somewhere, and that's just such a great
It
movie.
is. It really is. Okay, so Edward Scissorhands and Sleepy Hollow are kind of a toss up for me because I just think Sleepy Hollow is so beautiful the way that it's filmed. I love the
Absolutely.
lighting. I just love it. And Edward Scissorhands is too, but it's in more of like a silly way
Hmm.
with all the colors and the suburban crazy people in the town. But I really like Sleepy Hollow because it's just dark, dark, dark.
Yes. Yeah.
Edward Scissorhands is what's the word I'm looking for? It's not really macabre. It's
Right. It's
melancholy. That's the word I'm looking for. It's melancholy, but it's not really dark. It's got, dark undertones to it, but it's not
hmm
fully there. Um,
right.
but yeah, Sleepy Hollow is definitely all the way there, and I love that Christopher Walken is.
Yes.
He's perfect for it. I don't think he
Well,
even says anything in the movie. I don't think he speaks once, does he?
no, I think he just, growls or
Yeah,
like hisses at
yeah,
people.
yeah, yeah. Which is good because I don't think his accent would work very well for a bad guy. But he has a creepy
No.
face, so that works.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of those actors where it's like if you could put him or Samuel L. Jackson in every movie, it would be phenomenal. Like, just give me Christopher Walken in every movie.
Seriously.
Even if he just shows up in the background, like makes a silly
I know.
face.
I agree. Samuel L. Jackson, man, I haven't watched anything with him in it for so long.
That's crazy talk.
I know. I haven't. I'm trying to think of the last movie I saw with him in it. I think it was that Jumper movie, which was like,
Okay.
eh, it was okay. I was
I don't think I saw it.
it. You don't need to. It's nothing to write home about, in my opinion. It was like I was expecting it to be super cool. It's just about the guy that like can teleport basically,
Right.
and Samuel L. Jackson plays like the bad guy who's trying to like capture him or whatever, and that's the last thing I saw him in. And he's a great actor. Like he's good in anything he's in. It's just I haven't seen a movie with him in it in a while.
Going off of video games and Tim Burton movies,
Mhm.
the way that I found you was on Instagram, and I say this on a lot of my podcast episodes because that's where I found a lot of people to
It's
begin
dude,
with.
it's such a great platform. That's the word I'm looking for.
Well, what I told one of my friends because they had asked me, they're like, "Why do you have so many like cosplayers on your podcast?" I'm like, "Because I can tell that they're actually interested in different
Right?
fandoms."
Yeah,
I mean, they're dressing up as characters, and most of the time they're gonna know like who the characters are and able to talk about it or whatever.
definitely.
And for you, it was your Princess Jasmine
Right.
cosplay because number one, I when I grew up, I was growing up on like I grew up on the classic Disney movies
Mhm.
because of my age, but I was in that time period of Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Lion King,
Right.
Aladdin were those movies that are like those heavy influences of Disney on my
Right.
life. And I loved your Princess
Oh,
Jasmine.
thank you.
So, I guess my first question is how did you get into cosplaying?
Um, I met a couple that I'm friends with. I haven't seen them in a while. I hope they're doing good. Hi, Shelby. Hi, Ian, if you're listening. Um, um, and I met them through an ex-boyfriend at the time, and they introduced me to cosplaying. And I was just like, what? I was like, I don't know what that is. Are you talking about like sexy things in the bedroom? And they're like, no, dude. This is what cosplay is. It's being a dork and dressing up as a character that you really like because everybody knows that when you're, a true nerd or a true dork, you have fantasies of wanting to be the people that you admire in characters and TV shows and all that. And they basically were like, no, this is my costume. I dressed up as this person. I was like, wow, that's really cool. And they've cosplayed a lot, so they had a lot of material to show me, like in pictures and stuff. And I was like, oh my god, I want to do this. And I had no idea that there was this huge community of people that get together at conventions. Like, I knew that there was like Star Wars conventions where like Star Wars nerds would like get together and dress up like Star Wars characters, but I didn't know there were
Right.
Comic Cons. I didn't know there were anime cons. I didn't know there were, conventions all the time for different kinds of things for everyone, and that tons of people dressed up. I didn't know it was like a thing in real life. so
Right.
it just blew my mind, and I was like, I want to do this, and I didn't actually have the time or the money to start doing it until I think it was a couple of years ago, last year and a half ago. I don't know. My time's all messed up. What month is it? It's October.
It's
Yeah,
October.
so it was like a year and a half ago, um, and yeah, that's how I got into it. I ran into a group of people who explained it to me, and I honestly had no clue. And I don't know how I went so long without knowing. I think I found out about cosplay like 3 years ago, and I couldn't understand how I didn't know about it sooner, and how like I don't know what it's like. I felt like I had grown up under a rock. And like seriously, and so many people know about cosplay nowadays that don't even cosplay or have nothing to do with
Right.
the community, but they've heard of it, they understand it, they know what it is. Um, and I think that that's rapidly increased just over the last couple of years, actually, because when
Right.
I met Shelby and Ian, um, they had explained to me that not a lot of people do it. Like, a lot of people do it, but not a lot of people do it, as in the sense of like it's not a popular thing to do. And now I feel like everyone knows about it. Like, anytime when people ask what I like to do, and I say, well, I cosplay, and I'm a singer and dancer, whatever, and they're like, cosplay, that's like when you dress up and go to Comic Cons and stuff, right? And I'm like, yeah, you totally know that. That's cool.
Yeah.
um, because I feel like that's a hard thing to explain to people. Like, if you don't know what cosplay is and you've never been to a convention and you try to explain it to someone, they're instantly, if they're not a nerd or a geek, they're not gonna have an understanding. They're just gonna think you're a weirdo. So
Right.
so it's cool to know that people know. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, what was your first cosplay?
My first cosplay was a Harley Quinn. And
Okay.
sorry, I'm like super stuffy right now. I'm still getting over this cold. But it was like an original design. I did a biker Harley Quinn, and she had like a cut off like jean wash jacket, and I put in and little like um, studs on the back, and she had like little short shorts and stockings and a bat and boots and everything. And I was like, I just had this idea, like, what if Harley Quinn was a biker babe?
Right.
And that's kind of the style that I came up with. Which I ended up I felt like Suicide Squad took all the wind out of my sails, because when I cosplayed her, I went to Tampa Bay Comic Con uh, last year,
Okay.
and that's where I took the cosplay, and I felt like not many people knew who I was. Like,
Okay.
people kept asking me, who are you cosplaying as? Who are you cosplaying as? And I'm like, I'm Harley Quinn. I'm Harley Quinn. And they're like, oh, okay, I see it now. That's cool. But like, they weren't getting it. So I was like, oh, that's fine. But then when Suicide Squad came out, and everyone was like, oh my god, this Harley Quinn's awesome. And I was like, but it doesn't look like anything like the original Harley Quinn. And so
Right.
I was like, but everybody knows that she's Harley Quinn, but why did nobody know that I was Harley Quinn? And honestly, the style is very similar. Like, she's got the fishnet stockings, which I had. She's got the little glittery shorts, which I did. She's got the biker looking style, with the bat, and I mean, my style is, it doesn't look anything like hers, but it's similar in the sense of the
Mm-hmm.
idea with the shorts and the crop top and all that. And so I was a little disappointed. And nowadays, people are like, "How is this Harley Quinn? This is the worst Suicide Squad Harley Quinn I've ever seen." It's like, because it's not Suicide Squad Harley Quinn.
Right?
It's not. It's not what I did. Please. But yeah, it was fun, and I still have it, and I'll still use it. I'll probably take Harley Quinn to another convention at some point, but yeah, I just felt like I worked so hard on it, and it was my first cosplay, and I was so proud of it, and then for nobody to know who I was, but then everybody knows who the new Harley Quinn is, and now they compare me to the new Harley Quinn. I'm just like, I give up. I'm not. I just can't. I can't explain myself anymore. I'm just gonna either like it or you hate it. Just leave me alone. Nerds can be really mean sometimes.
They can be.
I've known.
They
I
can.
really can, and like I'm pretty chill about it. Like, um, you know, at first I was starting to like delete the mean comments, but now I just leave them. Because I just want them to look like assholes.
Right.
I just want them to look like assholes, and 9 times out of 10, somebody, even if it's people that don't even follow me on Instagram, they'll respond and be like, hey, dude, like, that's really rude. Like, that's not okay to say. So, but for the most part, I just ignore it, and I just let the haters roll off,
Yeah, that's been the one crazy thing, because I had never really been on Instagram before, like looking at stuff or barely posting pictures of like the random things that I used to post before I started the podcast. And then as I added people who had agreed to do the podcast and followed them and commented on their pictures, I just start seeing those comments. I'm like, that's unacceptable.
Yeah.
Why do you feel like you can comment like that?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't, it's, oh, geez, what is it called? There's a Lily Allen song that I like. Oh, it's called URL Badman. And in the song, she's basically talking about people who sit behind their computers and they think they're like badasses because they're slaying you on the internet and talking all this shit about you. And in the song, she's saying, I'm a URL bad man. Like, I'm the shit because I sit on my computer all day in my basement at my mom's house and I'm talking shit about people and bashing people all day long, which I'm sure that most of these people are not living in their mom's basement. But the idea is that I think that's what these people think they are, that it's okay to say certain things to people just because you're not face to face.
Right.
And, I do know, like, my friends, I was telling you about that and introduced me to cosplay. They've told me some horrible stories about people being mean to them in person. It's not always just online. I don't get it because cosplay literally has the word play in it. It's for fun.
Right.
It's a hobby for a lot of people. Some people do it professionally. They get lucky and they're talented and, they're able to do that. And that's awesome. But it's, at the end of the day, it's for fun. At the end of the day, it's supposed to bring you happiness and joy. I don't see why there should be any kind of competition or why, I don't know. I just don't understand. I could never look at someone's cosplay, even if I didn't like it, even if it wasn't my favorite thing in the world. I could never go to that person and be like, hey, your cosplay's shit. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't
Right.
make that. I don't know how long it took them to do that. I don't know what their talent level is. I don't know what their skill level is. It's not fair. At the end of the day, they're smiling and they're having fun,
Right.
and that's what's important. So it just blows my mind. People are just so bizarre to me. I just don't get it. It's never going to make sense. And I don't know. Haters gonna hate.
I don't think it ever will.
No,
Yep.
haters gonna hate. That's all I got to say.
You did the initial Harley Quinn. Did you go from there to doing the Jasmine, or were there other costumes in between?
No. So far I only have 2 cosplays, and that was the Harley Quinn and the Princess Jasmine, which took me forever.
Now, why did you decide to go the red and gold Jasmine over the traditional
Um,
one? Just out of
because
curiosity.
I just wanted to stand out. I didn't want to match anyone else. I'm the type of person where, like, if you go to a party and you see in those movies where like 2 girls go to a party and they're both wearing the same dress and they're embarrassed, like, I wouldn't
Right.
be embarrassed, but I would be like, man, like, I want to stand out. I'm that type of person where I want it to be my own thing. I want somebody to see my work and be like, wow, that's her work. I want it to be distinguishable from a
Right.
group of people. So I went with the Red Jasmine because she's already not as commonly cosplayed. And then I was like, well, Red Jasmine's pretty simple. It's just, a little tube top and pants and shoes and earrings, and that's it. I'm like, that's not really hard to cosplay. That's basically a Halloween costume. Like, in my opinion, I wanted to challenge myself.
Okay.
And I had been really wanting to do an armored style cosplay. So I was like, what if I make Princess Jasmine a badass and she's ready for battle, and what if she's on Jafar's side? Maybe she's a bad girl. Maybe,
Okay.
I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, that's what kind of the ideas I was playing with. And so I came up with this badass armored Princess Jasmine. And that's what I did. I did, like, the breastplate and I did the belt. And then, originally, I was supposed to have a sword, but I couldn't make it. I couldn't finish it in time because I'm a noob at cosplaying right now. Like, I can make costumes, but I was, like, as I was making this cosplay, I was learning my material at the same time. So I messed up a million times. I hot glued myself to myself and, and I was like, oh my god. It took me like a month, I think it was, just to do the bra and the belt and get the pants and the shoes made. And I had started the base for the sword, which I still have, but I just couldn't finish it in time. So I think I will eventually finish it and take that cosplay somewhere again.
Okay. And do you have any plans for the future, for like future cosplay plans, like ideas for
Yes,
costumes?
yes, I do. Um, I'm working on a poison ivy right now. I started working on a poison ivy, and then my life got ahead of me, and I had to move and everything, and um, I couldn't work on it. I haven't had time. But I have another burlesque show coming up on the 29th for, it's like our Halloween show we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And my producer was like, well, what are you going to wear after the show? And I was like, what do you mean? Like, I'm going to go home? And she was like, no, like, we're going to hang out after the show and, like, mingle and promote ourselves. She's like, and take pictures with people. You got to have a costume. It's a Halloween party. And I was like, I'm not prepared for this. So I think I'm going to finish my poison ivy and take that to the Halloween party. And then I have another cosplay finished, and then I can use that. So yeah, I'm gonna finish the poison ivy, but I don't know if you've seen any of the pictures I had posted like forever ago of the poison ivy I was working on, but I wanted to do like a darker style. So
Right.
she's gonna be like basically sexy poison ivy, but darker. Like, I want to do like really dark makeup with like black lipstick and black nails, and she's gonna have like the foliage on her bra and the panties and everything, and maybe like spread out in my hair and stuff, but I wanted it to be like a dark, spooky poison ivy, but sexy at the same time because
Okay.
because sexy. Because poison ivy, because why not?
Because why not?
Because why not?
I mean, there's so many different versions of the characters, anyways, at this point, from
Oh
everyone that's
yeah,
doing, alternative versions.
definitely.
I mean, anybody can do anything right now, whether it's like pinup or
I
steampunk,
know. I
futuristic.
love it though. It's so cool. I think it's
Absolutely. Like,
amazing.
that's one of the things I love is I really like the people who take the character and then put their own twist on it.
Exactly. And that's my goal. That's what I wanted. That's what I want to do with all of my cosplays, even into the future. Unless it's a cosplay like I specifically want to look like the character. Like, have you ever seen Queen of the Damned?
Yes.
Okay, so Akasha is amazing, and her costume in that movie is absolutely stunning and extremely detailed. That's a cosplay I want to do where I want to stick to the character. Um,
Okay.
because it's already so different and so detailed and so beautiful. I would really love to be able to get as close to that realistically as possible. But for the most part, I want to do my own thing. I get
Right.
bored. I get bored with looking. I don't want to take. Even if I cosplayed a Mario, I'm sure I would change it in some way. because it's just what I do. I'm just that type of person where I'm always thinking of how to step it up or make it different or make it weird. Who knows? Make it something.
Absolutely. Now, if people are listening to this podcast and they would like to check out your work or check out your costumes or just follow you, what is the best place for them to go to?
Instagram for sure. My Instagram is Natasha Hazard. And also my Facebook page, which is the same. It's Natasha Hazard.
Okay. And that's easy enough, and I'll have the links on the show notes and on the Facebook page and website for everyone.
Yay!
Well, Natasha, I think we pretty much covered at least the basics.
Yeah.
I mean, I could have let you go on a Mario and Tomb Raider run for a couple of hours.
I know, I'm sorry. I talk so much.
Oh, no, it is A-okay. I mean, if I ever have, like, a 50th anniversary Mario edition, I know who I'm going to call up and ask to be on it.
Cool.
But thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule and getting on with me.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to Tales from the Fandom. Subscribe to us on iTunes or your podcast app of choice. Follow us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/talesfromthefandom to see photos, links, leave feedback, and check out upcoming guests. If you'd like to be a guest, email David at talesfromthefandom@gmail.com.